Shabbat Perek Dalid, Mishnah Bet, which happens to be the second Mishnah in the fourth chapter of Shabbat, and also the last Mishnah in an extremely short chapter of Shabbat. Says the Mishnah, Tomnin Bashlachin. Okay, we're continuing to discuss what you can do Hatmanah with, meaning what you can use as insulation for your food to keep it hot if you do Hatmanah from before Shabbat. Tomnin Bashlachin. Shlachin are skins, okay, animal skins. So you're allowed to do Hatmanah with your animal skins, Umataltalinotam. Plus you can move them, i.e. the animal skins are not muktzah. Why? The Bartanura says, okay, metaltalin, whether you did Hatmanah or not, the chazu lemizga alai. You can lean on them. People would use the animal skins as mats that they would sit on. So therefore, you're allowed to do Hatmanah with it, and it's not muktzah. Begizei tzemer. You can also do Hatmanah with wool shearings. Ve'en metaltalinotan. But you can't move them. I.e., people when they would shear their sheep, and then eventually they would use that wool. They would wash it and clean it and spin it into thread. But until they spun it into thread, you could use it as insulation to keep your food hot. The point is, though, you didn't designate it as this is my Hatmanah wool. If you designate it as Hatmanah wool, then you've already said, I'm not going to use it to spin. I'm going to use it for Hatmanah as insulation. Then it's not muktzah. But here we're talking about wool spinnings, gizei tzemer, that you're gonna spin. You're gonna use it for something else. You don't want to make it permanently into insulation. Therefore, it's muktzah, not for the purpose of Hatmanah. Therefore, ein metaltalin. You can't move it. So ketzadu oseh. What should you do? Notel et hakisui ve'eino flot. You have to imagine. I'm looking at the Mishnah Behira, but Mishnah Behira, it's very nice. But as I said, I'm not going to use their images because I don't have their permission. Think about like a big cooler. Okay, so remember, a cooler. All a cooler is a box that insulates. So they had this box. Okay, and in the box they would stick in the pot and strip in as much wool around it as they possibly could. You're allowed to do this before Shabbat. It's Hatmanah b'davar shelo mosif hevel. It doesn't add heat. The wool just insulates. So now, when it comes time to eat my soup on Shabbat morning or my chalent, hopefully it's still hot. If the cooler is a good cooler and they know how to insulate properly, so then the Mishnah says, you can't. What do? It's covered with wool, but that's muktzah. So ketzadu oseh, what do you do? No telet hakisui ve'eino flot. That's called tiltul kila'achar yad. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write it down here. It's called tiltul kila'achar yad. It's called indirect movement. So therefore, I'm causing the muktzah to move, but I'm doing it indirectly. I pick up the cover and the shearings fall off. The problem is like this. So now I've got this. You have to imagine I've got this big box full of it's got a pot in it, and stripped around it inside the cooler is the wool. Okay, so now the cover is no big deal. But now if I take out the pot, what's going to happen is then the wool is all going to cave in, and then I'm not going to be able to move it. I'm going to have to move it in order to put it back. So therefore, therefore we have the following discussion, a machloket argument. Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah Omer. Rabbi Lezer says, kupa, if I have it in a box, i.e. a cooler, like you think about a big igloo cooler, okay, and in it is a pot. Mate al tzida v'notel. In order for me to take from the pot, Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah says, I don't want you to pull the pot out in order to serve, because if you pull the pot out, then the wool is gonna fall in. You're gonna lose your crevice where the wool was, and you're gonna have to move it in order to put it back. So therefore, mata al tzida, you just tilt the igloo, tilt the whole cooler, and then you can take from the pot, and then you can put the cover back on, it'll stay hot. Because the point was, people wanted to serve the soup, let's say, for example, Friday night, and then serve it again Shabbat morning. Good idea. Why? Matal tzida v'notel. Why? Shema yitol. Because if you take out the pot, ve'ino yachol achzir. And you won't be able to put the pot back because the wool, which is muktzah, will have caved in. You'll have like a hole that will fallen in. The Chachamim say, no, notel umachzir. You can notel, take the pot out, umachzir, and you can put it back. But even the Chachamim agree. Let's look at the Bar Tanura. Notel takideira, you can take the pot. V'im lo naflu agizim, if the wool hasn't fallen in, you don't have your crevice, okay? V'lo nitkak laguma, you haven't lost your hole. Then machzir akidei la limkoma. Then you can put the pot back. But he adds, Umodim chachamim agree, she'im nitkalkala aguma, if you lost your oil, then obviously you can't put back the pot. You're not allowed to touch the shearings. They are muktzah. Everyone agrees about that. But let's continue. Lo kisahu mi ba'od yom, lo yichasenu mishri techshach. This is the Mishnah is now learning what we learned, what the Bartanura added in the last Mishnah. If you didn't do full Hatmanah before Shabbat, then you can't do it on Shabbat itself. Okay? That's what we learned. Let's see in our chart. We said on Shabbat, it's asur. You're not allowed to do Hatmanah on Shabbat, even for something that's ma'amid hevel, that doesn't add heat. Why? Maybe I'll find my food cooled off and I'll boil it up again. But kisau v'nitgala, let's say I did cover it and it became uncovered, then mutar l'kasroto, then I can recover it again. Finally, the Mishnah adds something interesting. Mimaleh takiton v'noten l'toch hatakar. A ketone is a water jug, and so I can fulfill my water jug and put it under my pillow or tachat hakaset or under my blanket. And those are things I wanted it not to stay hot. I wanted it to remain cool. That's what the Kati said. I'm allowed to do that, even though it looks something like Hatmanah. It's not talking about hot food. Chachamim were not gozer. They didn't make a gzeira in that case. We'll stop here. This concludes our study of Perek Dalet. If you have any comments or questions, as always, please feel free to contact me at rspolter@gmail.com. And we'll dedicate the learning of this mission to the memory of my father, Reb Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.